You know it. I know it. IPAS Centres, migrant camps, whatever you want to call them, are an unholy waste of money. An unholy waste of money. And it's a shame and a disgrace that 15,000 people in Ireland are registered as homeless, including almost 5,000 children. Men sleeping in tents, men sleeping in squalor, women and children in squalor, not knowing if they're ever going to have a home, while billions is being spent on these IPAS centres. And for so long, people have said this is a disgrace. How can you justify this? It's a waste of money. It's not good value for money. What about the Irish people? Well, today, Simon Harris, collared, put on the spot, admits it. It's not a good use of anybody's money. It's not good value for money. It's suboptimal. Of course, he's just talking. He's not actually doing anything about it yet. But disturbingly, he's talking about the government's desire and push for state-owned accommodation. Camps, large-scale camps, not hotels, not other people's property that's let out. Camps, state-owned properties, or multi-storey repurposed office blocks. Call them whatever you want. So let's look at Harris, and he's saying it with his own mouth. And as the saying goes, or something similar, what's the difference between a conspiracy theory and the truth? Around about 12 months. That which is deemed to be a conspiracy a year ago turns out to be the truth now. So here you're going to hear the tarnished Frank Spencer himself telling us what a waste of taxpayers' money these IPAS centres actually are. And he makes no bones about it, because he can't. You can't hide from the truth. So let's hear what he has to say.
Of Oireachtas committees, the Public Accounts Committee in June is going to be looking into the state spending on IPAS to date, and the fact that the chairman of the committee...
Look at Harris's face. What would you do if I made these videos like this? What is that telling you? The bake on that. Like a bulldog chewing a wasp. Look at the face on him.
Right, this is a runaway train. Are you satisfied that the spending on the IPAS system over the last couple of years has been, generally speaking, essentially appropriate?
It's an interesting word, Ben, because am I satisfied we're getting value for money in relation to IPAS? Absolutely not. Am I satisfied that the model is appropriate? Absolutely not.
Absolutely no value for money. Absolutely the wrong model. There you have it. And he shirks around acknowledging that it's called a runaway train to the tune of at least €1 billion a year that we know about. Suboptimal, bad value for money. It's not what we need, but that's what we've got.
I'd make the point that obviously we've been in an emergency situation and we've been trying to respond. And in that sense, we've had to, somewhat by necessity, been quite reactive.
Emergency? How long's he been in an emergency for? 10, 15 years? What would it actually take for him to respond? And this is a psychological trick. Just because a sap like this is coming out and telling you what you already know and confirming to me what I have been saying for a long, long time now. Just because they acknowledge it doesn't mean to say anything's going to be done about it. Doesn't mean to say that they're actually going to pull their fingers out and do something about it. Acknowledging something and taking action to rectify something are two completely different things. So don't be lulled into a false sense of security in this one. And I know that anybody with a right thinking brain in their skull won't be lulled, but it's just more talk. And how could you take anything a drip like this says? How could you take it seriously?
You know, what properties are available? How can we quickly comply with our legal obligations? And that does, in my view, not achieve the best value for the Irish people in terms of value for money. It also achieves, in my view, a suboptimum approach to planning. Because instead of saying, hang on a second, how are we going to meet our needs in terms of a migration system? You end up being the receiver of what properties are available. And I have very strong views, as does government, that this is a model we need to move away to.
A model we need to move away to. He can't even get his English right. A model we need to move away from, Simon. Simple Simon. From. We need to move away from the model, not away to it. Maybe that was a slip. We need to move to this model that's suboptimal and not good value for money. And since when does he ever care about what's good value for money for the Irish taxpayer? Bike shelter, anyone? Children's hospital, anyone? Funding for the Middle East, anyone? IPAS payments, anyone? Free servicing in engines and tyres for Ukrainians' cars, anyone? What does he care about Irish people and value for money?
I'd like to see, for example, state-owned facilities.
Listen.
Rather than going around the community, having to dip into communities and take facilities, including hotels. That's where we need to get to. In fairness to the Minister for Justice, there's a lot of work underway in relation to that. For example, the City West facility, I think, has...
There's a lot of work underway to develop state-owned facilities. Listen carefully to that. Listen carefully to that. A lot of work underway behind the scenes to develop and expand on state-owned facilities. And he's talking about going into communities and taking hotels. They're not taking anything. They're dangling huge fat carrots full of euros, made up from euros, in front of greedy landlords' noses, and they're snapping them up. And to hell with the community, and to hell with that area, and to hell with the people's thoughts and opinions, because remember, you don't get a veto on who lives in your community, of course, unless you're in Dublin 4. I would say Harris would have a veto on who's living next door to him, or whether or not they were going to put an IPAS centre up on his back doorstep. He's a NIMBY, NIMBY, not in my backyard. State accommodation, state-owned accommodation, expansion of state-owned accommodation, permanency.
Capacity to potentially do more and achieve better value for money. So I welcome the fact that the PAC are going to shine a light on this. It's right and proper that they should. And no area of government spending should be beyond robust check.
What an absolute liar. I'm glad the PAC, the public accounts people, are going to shine a light on this. I'm glad they are. Why would you be glad? Why would you be glad for someone to shine a light on your disgusting incompetence and complete disregard for managing other people's funds for the benefit of Irish people? Why would you be glad about that? Why on earth would you be glad about that? Just an absolute twister is Harris. Listen to this goon and hear what he has to say.
Look, I certainly think that it's not value for money.
No.
I think that
you're not value for money, you rat. Look at him, little rat. I don't think it's value for money, wringing his hands together like bloody Ebenezer Scrooge on Christmas Eve when Bob Cratchit wants an extra piece of coal on the fire. Well, Mr. Cratchit, look at him rubbing his little fat paws together, that little rat.
we've seen extraordinary levels of spending. I think that in some cases citizens are rightly entitled to ask, is that a good use of public funds, and are we getting economies of scale, as I was just talking about student accommodation, is that being achieved here, and is there consistency of approach? I think, to be honest, to date there hasn't been. I think that's something we need to improve in this government, and I think something my colleagues, to be fair, across government are working on. So yeah, look, I think we can do better, and I think we will.
Put them all into IPAS Centres, every single last one of them. These guys I'm talking about, cut their wages to minimum wage or even below minimum wage and say you'll get nothing, you'll live in no house of your own, you'll have to use the LUAS, you'll have to use public transport or walk from one end of Dublin to the other until you get this mess sorted out. Do you think you'll still be standing there rubbing his paws together? I think not. You'll be sweating profusely. Doesn't give a damn either. Doesn't give a damn. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a little guy with a chip on each shoulder here, sitting venting. But why not? Why not? I can and I will, and it's how I feel, and I make no apologies for it. So anyway, if you haven't already done so, subscribe to the channel. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, why not? Why not? What's keeping you? It's not difficult. You just reach out and you press subscribe, or you hover your little mouse over the subscribe button. Hey, that means you get notified if you hit the bell also when my wonderful uploads are sent into the ether and they land on your device of choice. So if you haven't subscribed, in all seriousness, joking aside, please do so. Consider joining the channel, becoming a channel member. Again, why not? What have you got to lose? What have you got to lose? And share the content freely anywhere you like. For now, I'm Rick Munn. This is No Risk, No Reward Media. Over and out.